Dominik Szoboszlai. When Liverpool splashed over £60 million on the Hungarian star, many believed that they were getting a midfield force, a dynamic creator, someone who could carry the ball, score from range and bring a spark to Klopp's system, which had been lacking previously. But fast forward to now, under both Jurgen Klopp and now Arne Slot, and the picture feels a little complicated. His numbers have dipped, his influence has waned, and the question is being asked, why is Szoboszlai struggling in this Liverpool team? Today, we're breaking down his playing style, his role under Klopp and now Arne Slot, and what needs to change heading into the next season if Szoboszlai is truly to thrive at Anfield. Now at RB Leipzig, Szoboszlai thrived in a highly fluid, pressing-heavy system under Marco Rose. He wasn't a traditional number 10 or a fixed playmaker, but a wide central midfielder who drifted into those half spaces. He'd hit venomous shots from the edge of the box and connected attacks through vertical movement. His best traits, I would say at the time, ball carrying through pressure, vision in transition. He was a dead ball threat. He was intelligent, in those third man runs into the box. This was definitely a player that many of us looked at and thought could rival some of the best attacking midfielders that we had seen in the Premier League. He had the physicality already, and he was showcasing that at RB Leipzig and for Hungary. But when he was at Leipzig, he was surrounded by organized chaos, high tempo, transitions, and verticality. His freedom to roam and the space created by Leipzig's aggressive system allowed him to shine. So naturally, Liverpool fans would expect that the dynamic ball progressor, maybe even our own Steven Gerrard, as they like to call him, or maybe even closer to someone like Kevin De Bruyne, that's what we were expecting, so to speak. Maybe not to hit those levels straight away, but definitely someone that we thought, give him a few years and this player could definitely be molded into a player of that kind of ilk. But unfortunately, that has just not happened whatsoever. We've just been given this player who now looks a shadow of his former self. When Szoboszlai did arrive at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp's midfield was in transition. Of course, we had let go of the likes of Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, Naby Keita, Milner. We had let go of quite a few of our old guard because the team needed the transition, and those players just were not up to the task of playing in a Jurgen Klopp system anymore. Now, in possession, Liverpool were experimenting with a 3-box-3. Trent Alexander-Arnold tucking into midfield, forming a double pivot alongside the 6, with the two number 8s pushing slightly wider and higher. Szoboszlai operated as the right-sided advanced midfielder intended to connect play and press high. Initially, Szoboszlai looked like a revelation. They were calling him the Hungarian Steven Gerrard. He was full of energy, he was carrying the ball through midfield, he was contributing to the build-up with composure, he had aggression. But deeper into the season, the cracks just started showing with this guy. His defensive workload, it skyrocketed, constantly tracking overlapping fullbacks or dropping into the right half space when Trent moved central. Ball touches in the attacking third dropped. Instead of arriving late in the box, he was often deep in his own half, recycling possession. Creativity became limited, with Salah cutting inside and the right wing back inverting. Szoboszlai's space to operate was often congested. By the time that we hit around February, the zip in his game had just completely gone. He'd gone from 1.6 key passes per 90 in August to 0.7 by March, and from 2.9 shot creating actions to just 1.2. That was a clear indication his influence was diminishing. Arne Slot's arrival promised tactical clarity, and it's delivered in some areas, but for Szoboszlai, the fit remains still a little bit awkward and weird. Slot employs a 4-3-3 in possession, anchored by two interiors, typically Szoboszlai and McAllister, and a single pivot, which is usually Gravenberch. But when they're pressing, the shape morphs aggressively into a 4-2-4. Both wide forwards, they press high alongside the striker, and one of the midfielders, usually Szoboszlai, steps up to engage early. This transition-based pressing system has a few issues though for Szoboszlai. He's expected to press and recover, but not always get the ball. In possession, his role becomes extremely positional. Slot prioritizes width and structured build-up, limiting his freedom to drift. He's often bypassed in central progression. Slot uses the fullbacks and pivot to progress vertically, meaning Szoboszlai becomes more of a third phase receiver rather than a play initiator. Compared to when he was at Leipzig, where he had the license to flow and attack space, Szoboszlai now plays in rigid corridors. His movements are predictable, and so are his actions. If you look at the stats, his touches are down in the attacking third by 30%. His progressive passes received are also down by 27%. Again, a shift and change in instructions and roles and the fluidity of his actual movement. So what is the issue? Let's try and unpack it. Is it a tactical thing? Is it a psychological thing? We do genuinely need to know, because we are getting two completely different players at this current moment in time. And I do feel that the fan base is on edge at the moment when it does come to Szoboszlai, in that anything he does is just getting scrutinized tenfold. But there must be a reason as to why the manager keeps picking him. So as we know with Szoboszlai, he is a rhythm type player. He needs to feel involved constantly, whether it's third man runs, 1-2, switching play. But in Slot's system, he's too often stationed in just dead zones. Close to the touchline, he's waiting to recycle rather than create. Szoboszlai isn't a system lock technician like an Erdegaard or a Cruz. He thrives in broken play, finding gaps, improvising. The rigid spacing of a Slot's 4-3-3 robs him of that spontaneous edge. Sometimes I sit there and think the right-sided overload that should be happening with Salah, Trent and Szoboszlai, in terms of them interchanging, it doesn't really work, hasn't really clicked. It's still really just Salah and Trent. There's too much duplication just in the movement and not enough diversity in the roles that each of those three players are actually given. And then, of course, you just see as the season just kind of continues. By around March, Szoboszlai was visibly gassed. His pressing intensity kind of dropped a little bit. His shooting, it's just become so hesitant. He doesn't even shoot anymore. He doesn't even want to almost make the right decisions. You can almost see him that he looks like he's almost scared to do anything wrong. So he's just not doing anything at all. And I feel like for someone who is naturally a creative player, he's just inside his own head at this current moment in time, and he's just overthinking every single thing. That's why I feel that we're seeing this kind of non-creative number 10, and we're all looking at him a bit funny, because it's like, well, you're supposed to be creative, but you're not creative. You're being praised more so for being someone who runs around a lot and does all of these kind of things off the ball, as opposed to what you're doing on the ball. And I just think he's overthinking everything in terms of what he actually has to do, instead of just letting it flow like it did when he was at Leipzig. Look, Liverpool are about to win the Premier League. Szoboszlai is about to become a Premier League champion in only his second season. So this is more of a look to the future, going into next season. I do feel that Arne Slot does have a bit of a decision to make with Szoboszlai in terms of what his role is going to be. Is he going to tactically change things around? Is he going to make him play closer to the striker? Is he going to allow him to operate in the number 10 pocket with two holding midfielders behind him? Maybe he starts on the bench a bit more. Maybe comes on, after 60 minutes. Maybe comes off after 60 minutes in games instead of, starting the majority of games. Maybe we try and preserve some of that energy that he obviously brings. Maybe we put him into a different type of role. If Arne Slot is going to be building a system around high possession, tight spacing, rigid control, needs a bit more creativity in that final third, then maybe Szoboszlai is just not the guy. So maybe you do just cut your losses on someone like him. Who knows? But Liverpool need a lot more functionality in those areas. And I just feel that at this current moment in time, with this Szoboszlai that we have got, as good as I believe that he is and can become, I just feel that there's too many questions surrounding Szoboszlai at this moment in time. And it's going to be a question really of whether Liverpool can give him the environment to show it. Szoboszlai's struggles aren't just about form, they're about fit. He's a player caught in tactical limbo, adjusting to a new manager, a changing system, and a club in transition. But this story isn't over. With his talent, intelligence, and work rate, Szoboszlai has every tool to bounce back. The only question is, will Arne Slot unlock the real Dominik Szoboszlai, or will Liverpool fans be left wondering what could have been? Guys, drop your thoughts below. Should he be given a new role? Should he be dropped or trusted to grow into this system? And if you enjoyed the breakdown, guys, make sure you smash a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.